I woke up somewhere I didn't recognize. Then I recognized it, too quickly. The hallway was wrong, too narrow, too close. I hadn't been here in years, yet the air felt recently disturbed, like someone had just passed through. I stood still, listening, waiting to hear proof that I wasn't alone. Nothing moved, and somehow that felt worse. I took a step forward. The floor creaked beneath me, soft, careful. I reached the front door. It was already unlocked. I knew that before I touched it. I closed it anyway, slowly, deliberately. My hand stayed on the handle, waiting for resistance, for certainty. The lock turned, endlessly. The door didn't refuse to close. It simply didn't understand why it should. That was when I heard it. Footsteps. Not rushing. Not hiding. Moving with familiarity, as if the apartment expected them. I held my breath, counted the seconds. One set of steps, then another. They didn't come closer. They moved past, through the walls. Like the space itself was being used, and I was just passing through it. A voice drifted from the living room, low, unconcerned. My name. It wasn't spoken loudly. It didn't need to be. The apartment carried it, brought it to me. I stepped forward despite myself. Each movement felt rehearsed, as if this moment had already happened, and I was only remembering it now. The living room lights were on. They shouldn't have been. I hadn't touched the switch. I was certain of that. The furniture was arranged differently, subtle, almost polite, like someone had tried to improve it. I noticed the chair first, pulled slightly away from the table, angled toward the hallway, waiting, not for anyone else, for me. I sat down in the chair. It felt warm, not from use, from waiting. I didn't remember pulling it out, didn't remember choosing it. Yet my body fit perfectly, like it had practiced this. The apartment stayed silent, too polite to interrupt. And that's when I understood. I wasn't deciding what happened next. I was following along. I noticed the sound next. Breathing. Not mine. Slow. Measured. Coming from somewhere behind me. I didn't turn around. Didn't dare. The chair creaked softly, as if responding. The breathing stopped, and the apartment seemed to wait for me to acknowledge it. The hallway lights flickered, once, then held. Shadows shifted where they shouldn't have, corners growing deeper, closer. I stood up slowly. The chair resisted, just a little, like it wanted me to stay. The breathing returned, closer now, still unseen, still patient. And I realized something then. The apartment wasn't hiding anything. It was introducing it. A door opened somewhere inside the apartment. Not loudly, not suddenly, just enough to be noticed. I hadn't heard footsteps, no movement, yet the sound came closer, room by room. I stayed where I was, afraid that moving would make it real. The handle turned, stopped, as if whoever was there was waiting for permission. I stepped back from the door, not far, just enough. The handle stayed still, as if listening. Then it turned again. Slow, deliberate. I didn't hear it open. I felt it. Air shifted behind me. Warmer, closer. Someone had entered, and the apartment approved. I didn't turn around. I didn't have to. The presence settled, not heavy, comfortable, like a coat placed on my shoulders. I realized then it wasn't trying to scare me. It was making room. The apartment adjusted around us, walls breathing, space shifting, as if it had been waiting, not for someone new, for me to stop resisting. The presence moved closer, still unseen, still calm. I felt it pass behind me, not touching, not needing to. The air carried a memory, My memory. Laughter. Footsteps. Nights I thought were gone. The apartment replayed them softly, like a reminder. This place hadn't forgotten me. It had been saving me. I followed the feeling into the hallway, not led, allowed. The doors along the wall were open now, all of them. Rooms I hadn't entered in years. Rooms I avoided remembering. Each one felt occupied, not by people, by moments. I saw myself everywhere, sitting, waiting, leaving. The apartment wasn't showing me my past. It was asking which version would stay. I stopped at the last door, the one I always kept closed. It hadn't been opened before. I was sure of that. The handle was warm, familiar. I hesitated, not out of fear, out of recognition. Behind it waited something unfinished, something patient. I understood then, this wasn't a return. It was a continuation. I opened the door, slowly. The room inside was empty. No furniture, no light. Yet it felt occupied, dense, aware. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me. This time, it clicked. Not locking me in, locking everything else out. And for the first time, the apartment felt complete. The silence changed, not quieter, closer. I felt the apartment settle, like a breath released. The walls no longer watched. They listened. I stood still, understanding too late. I wasn't inside a room. I was inside a choice. Behind me, the hallway faded. Ahead of me, something waited. And it knew my name better than I did. I remembered the other place then, the newer house, the locked doors. It felt distant, unreal, like something I had imagined once. Here, everything responded. Every thought echoed. I realized what I had mistaken for safety. Walls that keep things out. Doors that refuse entry. This place offered something else. belonging, without permission, and I felt myself leaning into it. Time stopped behaving normally. Minutes folded into each other. I couldn't tell how long I stood there. Seconds, years. The apartment no longer felt old. It felt prepared. I sensed movement beyond the walls. Not entering, waiting. Like others had stood here before me, made the same decision. I wondered briefly where they had gone. The apartment answered by growing quieter, as if listening for my response. I thought about leaving. The idea surfaced gently, then dissolved. There was no door back anymore, no hallway to return through. The apartment had simplified itself. One space, one presence. I felt something shift inside me. Not taken, rearranged. I understood then. Leaving had never been the test. Staying was. I stopped searching for the exit. There was nothing left to find. The presence no longer stood apart from me. It moved when I moved, paused when I paused. I felt my name loosen, letters losing their order. The apartment didn't correct it. It accepted the change. I wasn't being absorbed. I was being aligned. And somewhere beyond the walls, another door began to open. I understood what the apartment needed then. Not obedience, not fear, attention. It shaped itself around my thoughts, corridors forming where memories lingered. I no longer asked where I was. The question felt unnecessary. This place wasn't a location. It was a state. And I was finally still enough to remain in it. The presence eased, satisfied, as if something essential had been completed. The apartment no longer changed. It didn't need to. Everything was where it belonged. I felt the last boundary fade. Not a wall, not a door, just the idea of outside. Somewhere far away, life continued. Lights turned on, doors locked. But here, nothing needed closing. I didn't move. The apartment didn't ask me to. And when the door opens again, someone else will wake up here.